It's almost 3 o'clock, KNYO LP Fort Bragg. I've come to the point in the show where I'm going to read you this week's installment of Ezekiel Kralen's Endless Story. This one's titled, We're All Important to Each Other, Ezekiel Kralen wrote. Email correspondence, May 6th and 7th, last year. Subject, today's meetup, spectacular, continued, date May 6th, evening. Our conversation today covered various topics. No need to break it all down. Sufficient to say our palaver was like old friends who enjoy each other's company so much they get together several times a week over coffee and hearty laughs. While preparing to take off, someone he knows appeared before him. He was tall, skinny, and slightly bent over, an Ichabod Crane type, only with what appeared to be streaks of red lipstick all over his face. "Hey, what happened to you?" Dick addressed. "You got beat up?" I don't know what the fellow said in reply, since the traffic din in his mumbly voice made that impossible, but they talked about something for a few brief moments. Then Deke took off. Since Ichabod was now standing right in front of the entrance to my building, I accompanied Deke to the corner, told him he's standing too close to the gate, so I'm going to wait till he leaves, whereupon he said, "He's on trank. That's why his face is such a mess." Trank, Watson, the flesh-eating drug, often cut with fentanyl. No wonder Deke walked away so quickly. As we reached the corner, I turned around to see I could now return hovel without obstruction. As I wished him a good day and began to proceed homeward, he called to me. "That's Scampy's boyfriend. Well, one of them. Scary," I declared, then disappeared deep into the maw of Hotel California North, a close cousin of the Leviathan that swallowed Jonah. Signed Zeke K. Holmes. P.S. I almost forgot to mention that when Deke started to move on, but before I realized Ichabod had thwarted my entry, I called to him, wished him happy trails and how fantastic he's doing these days. "You're a leader," I hollered. He grinned, waved a dismissive hand, and said something like, "Oh, pish," so I tossed him a second compliment. "You set an example. Bravo." P.P.S. I switched back to Monday morning to send my email off to Magdalena after realizing it's best she see it ASAP. Addendum. Close to the end of our visit, I told him I need to shop for groceries at Trader Joe's because they're cheaper than around here, or most anywhere else for that matter. So I won't be home Monday and Tuesday until 2 p.m., but I'll try to bring it down to just one of those days. "Oh, you don't have to tell me. I'll be fine," he kindly replied. "My mind is blown, Watson. Where are all the smelling salts? My fainting couch awaits. Yet another addendum. Forgive me. While we were walking toward the corner, he made the most thoughtful remark. I know how much you care about the dogs, so I promise I'll drop by frequently, even when it's not for money." "Yes, Dick, I love them very much. They're the nicest thing to ever happen to me," I replied. "But please keep in mind I care about you, too. We're all important to each other." Subject, ChatGPT gave me the answer when legal counsel did not. Date, May 6, nighttime. First, my question. When there are two defendants in a lawsuit and one is dismissed because he is judgment-proof but nonetheless filed a general denial because the complaints against him were false and outrageous, will the other defendant's attorney get to see the dismissed defendant's list of rebuttals he sent to the plaintiff's attorney per his request? Now, ChatGPT's reply. I am not a lawyer, but I can provide some general information. In a lawsuit where multiple defendants are involved, each defendant typically has their own attorney representing their interests. The attorney for one defendant generally does not have automatic access to the documents or information provided by other defendants' attorney unless they are part of the same legal team or there is a specific reason for the disclosure. If the dismissed defendant filed a general denial and sent a list of rebuttals to the plaintiff's attorney, it is not guaranteed that the attorney for the other defendant will automatically receive or have access to that information. The information shared between the dismissed defendant and their attorney is typically protected by attorney-client privilege and may not be shared with others without the client's consent. However, it is possible that during the course of the lawsuit, the attorney for the other defendant may seek to obtain that information through legal means, such as discovery requests or subpoenas, if they believe it is relevant to their defense. The rules regarding discovery can vary depending on jurisdiction and the specific circumstances of the case. So there you go, Watson. I definitely cannot offer the landlord's attorney a copy of my rebuttals. Damn it. So I hope he goes the discovery route or subpoenas me to testify if the first approach doesn't work out. But I ask you, why on earth didn't any counsel I sought who heard me out tell me that simple answer? Well, Prentice, the personal injury angel in my tale, did say that a blah-blah's attorney may well have me testify, yet he did not state it is unlawful for me to offer him my list of rebuttals. Well, at least I have my answer, and there's nothing more I can do to assist a blah-blah in their defense, and thereby more strongly secure my own protection from scoundrels. Landlord's attorney is not the sharpest tack in the box. However, plaintiff's attorney strikes me as even more pathetic. There is always the hope plaintiff's attorney will simply drop the case, for which I have provided more than ample cause to do just that. However, dismissing me will give plaintiff's attorney every good reason to hide my rebuttals from a blah-blah, but he also knows that if I am subpoenaed, his goose shall be cooked to a fine crisp. But there's also the likelihood of an out-of-court settlement via case management. I do pray, however, that a blah-blah's attorney does not go that route and fights it to the shores of Dunkirk, in which case I'll have my day in court, something I've never been through before, though I sincerely appreciate how it works as an apt metaphor of my life under the rules laid out by my bodhisattva premise, signed Z.K. Holmes. P.S. Rather than attempt to access my rebuttals, can't the landlord's attorney simply ask me what happened from my perspective at some kind of meeting? Case management, perhaps? After all, I am representing myself. That is, I am my own attorney, so I still have questions, and at this point all I can say is this unfrozen caveman lawyer pilgrim is perplexed by it all, starting with the shoes. Subject, wait a minute. Date, May 7th, just after midnight. Rereading this statement by ChatGPT. The information shared between the dismissed defendant and their attorney is typically protected by attorney-client privilege and may not be shared with others without the client's consent. I am both attorney and client, since I represent myself, and as client, I give my attorney permission to share my list of rebuttals with the other defendant's attorney. Voila! Subject, my email to a blah-blah's attorney, date May 7 evening, just sent it off. Begin. Subject regarding lawsuit case number CGC-23- and then brackets with 6 X's in it. Liang versus a blah-blah Kralin et al. Dear Mr. Ms. or Mx Gamboa, I am the key defendant in this lawsuit, but because I am judgment-proof, I will soon be dismissed. However, since plaintiff's accusations strike me as false, grossly exaggerated, or subjective, I, representing myself, decided to respond with a general denial. Plaintiff's attorney contacted me by phone the day he received my denial and requested I email him a brief history of my sitting the 2 dogs in question and an explanation for my denial of each claim listed by plaintiff. Since the other main defendant, Kareem Blah-Blah, is an absentee landlord, he really has no idea what went down and thus relied on resident building manager Kevin Bond for the so-called facts. However, my denials reveal quite a different story, for which reason I offer a copy of them to you via a file stored on my Google Drive, because I believe it will help you better defend your client, which is an exact duplicate of the email I posted to plaintiff's attorney. But if you'd prefer, I simply forward you that email. Just say the word, or if you'd prefer, I print it out and send it off via snail mail. I'll be happy to do that instead. At any rate, here's the Google Drive link to my list of denials. Sincerely, Ezekiel J. Kralin. What fun, eh, Watson? Yet again, the deity of hindsight imposed his own observations upon my weary metaphorical shoulders. 1. No wonder I couldn't remove Mr. Ms. or Mx Gamboa's address from my smartphone's list of addies in my email to option for sending a news article to my ThinkPad, because I would need to know it later on down the line, like now. I had used the addie only once to informally respond to the eviction notice back in June 2022. Really didn't need it anymore. Until this realization, I found the unwanted address a nuisance, because right below my own address, since the domain name starts with a G, gay-bible.org, thus there is always the possibility of an accidental slip of my finger whereby I'd send it off to Gamboa instead of yours truly. I consulted with the Gmail sub and Reddit, whereby I learned this is a glitch and impossible to resolve. 2. I finally came across the missing summons this morning, for which I had to request another copy. I had absent-mindedly tossed it into one of my vertical storage bins, which I use exclusively for dried or packaged food, such as lentils, popcorn, small boxes of tea, and so on. See picture. You can see it right at the bottom, sticking out and sealed in a quart-sized Ziploc. The countless times I've opened that little door since the summons went missing and reached down for my Acmac crackers, kept fresh in the same kind of baggie, I never noticed the summons. Probably cause it was lodged deeper inside, except today it slipped forward. Cheeky little gremlin. To be continued.